With all due respect, my stress doesn't come from work. It comes from you, I replied firmly. What? How dare you say something like that? Such insolence, my mother-in-law snapped. I suppose it's because your job isn't doing you any good. I'll have to make sure you quit. What are you talking about? What right do you have to make me leave my job? I asked in disbelief. You'll see. I'll show you what happens when you cross me, she hissed before storming out. I thought she was bluffing, but I was about to find out just how serious she really was. My name is Tina. I'm a 30-year-old office worker. I got married just 3 months ago to a man named Harvey. I met my husband a long time ago. We were colleagues at the same company. I had a hard time getting used to my job and had no romantic feelings for him, so we were really just colleagues. Then my husband was assigned to a different department, and we saw each other less and less at work. But a year ago, there was a project that involved several departments. My husband and I were assigned to that team. It had been a while since I had seen him. He looked more handsome, and he managed his job really well. I was attracted to him. The project was a success, and we started going out for drinks and became closer after that. After 6 months of dating, he proposed to me, and we got married. Since we had enjoyed spending time together while we dated, I thought that our married life would also go well. But as soon as we got married, problems arose, because of my mother-in-law. She had never shown any signs of trouble before we were married, but as soon as we tied the knot, she started coming over to our house almost every day. It's true that my in-laws' house is close to ours, but it really bothers me that she comes every day. Moreover, my mother-in-law doesn't come here to see her son, my husband, but just to bully me. My husband's department is busier than mine, so he comes home about 3 hours later than I do. I come home first and prepare dinner. My mother-in-law always comes at that time of day. Tina, I'm tired of waiting. Let me in already, she demanded. What are you cooking today? Let me see your shopping bags, she said as she barged in. She started unpacking the ingredients I bought and laid them on the table. What are you doing? I asked, annoyed. What are you going to make today? She pressed. I was thinking of making risotto, Harvey's favorite dish, I replied. Risotto? You're making him eat a one-dish meal like that? She sneered. What? Is there something wrong with that? I asked defensively. You should make him more dishes, like grilled vegetables, seared salmon, or a salad. Make lots of side dishes like that, she instructed. I make more dishes when I can, but I was a little busy at work today, I explained. I don't need that excuse. First of all, it's not right that you're still working after marriage, she snapped. Do you really think that nowadays? I asked, incredulous. Huh? Are you trying to challenge me? You're such a smartass. I'm going to fix your attitude, my mother-in-law fumed. She would retort 10 times more if I tried to talk back to her in any way. After throwing unreasonable and terrible abusive language at me, she would leave just in time for my husband to come home. Oh, Harvey will be back soon. I'll be back tomorrow, she was saying with a smirk before leaving. What a joke. Why should I come home after a long day at work to meet a mean mother-in-law? But she came the next day and the day after that, just as she had declared. I was afraid that if I didn't do something, she would really come over every day. I decided to work late, so I could go home with my husband. Unfortunately, my department had just finished its busy season, and there wasn't much work left to do. Therefore, my boss told me everyone should leave on time as much as possible, and I wasn't allowed to work overtime. So I decided to kill time at a cafe. However, after a few days of doing this, I realized that the cost of coffee would add up if I continued this every day. Besides, it wouldn't make me or my husband happy if I had to spend more money, come home late, and still prepare dinner. Why should I be the one who has to avoid my place? One day, I decided to come home on time with the intention of making it clear to her. Sure enough, there was my mother-in-law in front of my house. I guess you finally gave up. You intentionally came home late so you wouldn't see me. It doesn't matter what you try. I'll be here again and again. Give up and take the beating, she stated smugly. She's the kind of mother-in-law who thrives on making others miserable. She checked my shopping bag and started complaining as usual. How many times have I told you that it's not right for a wife to keep her job? That's why you can't have kids, she accused. Isn't that none of your business? I shot back. What are you talking about? You can't get pregnant because you're stressed at work. Besides, there's such a thing as fertility activity, right? Some people even take time off work for that, she retorted. With all due respect, if I can't get pregnant because of stress, then my stress isn't from work, but from you, I replied firmly. What? You're a really cheeky woman to say such a thing. It must be because the work isn't doing you any good. I'll have to make you quit, my mother-in-law snapped. What are you talking about? What right do you have to make me quit my job? I asked, exasperated. You'll see. I'll show you what happens when you make me angry, she threatened before storming out. I thought she was bluffing, but she really meant it. One day my boss called me in. Tina, is it true that you want to quit your job? He asked. Excuse me? I replied, confused. Your mother-in-law talked to me about it just now. She said that the stress at work was too much for you, and you wanted to quit. But apparently, you can't quit because you can't talk to anyone about it, he explained. I quickly responded, No, that's not true. I love this job. I don't want to quit. He looked at me with concern. Really, if you're having trouble, you can talk to me about it, okay? I reassured him. No, it's really okay. Thank you. I had reached the end of my patience. I left work that day and went straight home. My mother-in-law was waiting for me in front of the house with a grin on her face. What's going on, Mother? I asked. Oh, did your boss mention our little conversation? She said, her grin widening. Did you understand what would happen if you challenged me? I glared at her. Yes, I understand perfectly well that you are a very bad-natured bitch, I replied. Her expression darkened. How dare you talk to your mother-in-law like that? You really have no idea about anything. I won't forgive you this time. Divorce my son right now and get out, she hissed. Okay, I'll get a divorce, I said calmly, turning to leave. With that, I went to the city office to pick up the divorce papers. Then I called my husband to meet me at a cafe to discuss an important matter. About an hour later, my husband rushed to the cafe after work. I explained the whole story. As a matter of fact, I said, I have recorded many of my mother-in-law's mean comments. When my husband heard the audio, he immediately believed me. Seriously, Mom, he muttered, shaking his head. My husband and I went to the city office immediately after that and filed for divorce. Then we went to my parents-in-law's house. What's wrong with you and Tina? My mother-in-law asked her son with barely concealed interest. Let me come in, my husband replied, and we walked into the living room together. What's the matter, Harvey? My father-in-law asked. I have something important to tell you, my husband began. What about? His father asked, leaning forward. We just filed for divorce, my husband said plainly. What? Oh my God, my father-in-law exclaimed in shock. He looked at my husband in surprise, but my mother-in-law glanced at me and grinned. What the hell happened? I can't believe you're suddenly divorced, my father-in-law continued. My mother-in-law shrugged. Well, calm down, Dax. There must have been some kind of rift that only couples can understand. Harvey and his wife are not children, so let's respect their decision, she said, her expression smug. But my husband's words wiped the smug grin off her face. I said we filed for divorce, but we got remarried again right away. I decided to take the last name of Watson, which is Tina's last name, he explained. Her face paled. Oh, what do you mean? She stammered. I think you know the reason for that best, my husband said, glaring at his mother. I don't understand what you're talking about, she said, pretending to be clueless. You have been harassing Tina ever since we got married, my husband said coldly. What are you talking about? Where is the proof? She demanded. Here it is, I said, pulling out my voice recorder and showing it to them. Her eyes widened. No way. You were recording with that, my mother-in-law exclaimed. You look so upset all of a sudden, Mother, I responded mockingly. Hey, what are you talking about? My father-in-law asked, looking between us. My husband took the voice recorder from me and played the audio. My father-in-law's face turned red as soon as he heard it. What the hell are you doing? What a bitch you are, he snapped at his wife. No, I'm sorry, she pleaded. I'm sorry, but I don't want to share your last name with you anymore, Mom, my husband added firmly. Dad, I'm sorry that I had to do it this way, his father sighed. Well, what can you do? I'd do the same thing if I were you, he continued. I don't want to see you anymore, Mother, so I'm cutting you out of my life, my husband declared. She burst into tears. No, no, don't cut me off. Forgive me. I'm sorry, but I can't forgive someone who caused pain to the one I care about, my husband said, standing up. Tina, let's go. Okay, I replied. My husband took me by the hand and we left my parents-in-law's house. By the way, the reason we were able to remarry right after filing for divorce was because we were married to each other before. It takes about 6 months to remarry a different person. We remarried immediately because we were told it was possible with the same person. We then moved out and started living in an apartment close to work. My mother-in-law was not allowed to see her son anymore because my father-in-law made it a condition that if she ever appeared in front of us again, he would divorce her immediately. My mother-in-law had been a stay-at-home mom all her life, so she had to obey my father-in-law because she couldn't divorce and live on her own. She really deserves it. I got pregnant a year later, free from the stress of my mother-in-law. Perhaps my mother-in-law was really the reason I couldn't have children after all. After the baby was born, my husband and I only saw my father-in-law with the child. I don't plan on seeing my mother-in-law for the rest of my life. My father-in-law seemed very happy to hold his grandchild. My husband and I will continue to support each other and watch our child grow up together.